Welcome to the Out There channel, live stream 146. Today we're going to cover some more on Cmos sensors and rocket science and UFO videos, hopefully. So depends on the system, whether it gets that slow go motion thing going on. So I'm just going to cue the intro. John's on video with me. Other people may come in later. Let's see. Yeah, so I stuffed this up, didn't I, the other day? Kick that off. And some music. And here. Looks like it's on the indicators. Looks like we're good. So this will be a 3-hour stream. Maybe longer. We'll see how we go. Hold to rotate. Please like and share. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. So you don't miss out on the next live stream, 3 a week, as you saw on the time chart at the beginning. Now you probably can't hear much of my voice while the music's playing. We need critical thinkers here. Will help us out figure out stuff. Get up there. Truth sounds like hate. For those that don't like truth. Hello. Right. Good to be back for another live stream. Hopefully we get more people joining us, and make sure I pause this time. Looks like it's paused. And I'll switch to my subs overnight. And we might make that 1500 soon, hopefully. It's certainly taken a few years to get there. So maybe mine's too much to handle, my live streams. But I do it as a presentation, so you can actually learn as we go and become critical thinkers. So you there, John?
I'm very much here and alive.
So yeah, no one else is joining us, but I think there might be a few other live streams going on. So I'll just type the welcome message down here, make sure it works. But zoomed in too much. Okay, there we go. $146. We got a Discord group, which we're on it every day, talking in voice rooms. If you want to join us on that, please do so. John's posted some links down the side there. Also, you can find it in the About tab, as well as the banner page on my YouTube channel. So today's topics, as you can see, it's going to be on rocket science. But I'm no rocket scientist, but you can do research and sort of read the articles and find out new stuff which I didn't know. So I'll bring it to your attention as well. That was Vern's fault today. He was on Hangouts saying he thought I would know all this, and I said I'm not a rocket scientist. But he was saying, I will go over it anyway. He was saying that rockets destroy the ozone more than most things next to planes. And I said, I'm not too sure on that, because from what I understood, it creates water vapor and heat from the exhaust. And so I did some research and found out some interesting stuff there about SpaceX and future rockets, of course. So first up is the rolling shutter. Now, this is part 2 on the Cmos sensors, and I should have brought this image up last time. Here's the example of what they call a global shutter, which would be CCD. Well, it used to be CCD. I found out recently that they've now got the Cmos going so fast now they can do the same thing as CCD, charge coupled device. And here's what a rolling shutter is. So what it does is it processes like a chunk of photocells, like a flat big scanner. It goes down if it's a portrait, and if you turn your phone around, it's obviously left to right. So that means if you move the phone slightly while the shutter is scanning downwards like that, you're going to get little zigzag patterns on the screen where things appear to overlap each other when it's not actually like that in real life. And I tried to show that last time with the tree thing with the what was it, the third phase on the moon video, where object was in the distance and it looked like it was going over the tree in some places, and that was because of slight movement of the camera. So depending on which way you're filming, of course, which way the objects can be distorted. So in this case, if it's portrait, obviously it's going to be up and down. So if you're filming like a power line, which is going across the screen, if you move your phone just slightly, that power line can disappear because you've just moved it just when it's going to scan that next, and you've moved it slightly up, and it's already processed those photocells, and it just carries on scanning downwards again. So things can disappear on the screen in the microseconds, right? Hopefully that makes sense. There's another image I've got here. I might just copy and we can't really do that, can we? Let's see. We go to this website here. I'll post a link to it. So obviously this goes into a bit more depth. You can see rolling shutter is a big thing in the camera world of things. It's amazing how many people don't understand what rolling shutter is and why they get these strange objects on their cameras, which they don't notice with their eyes. You can see there's so many things that can go wrong. So there's the image on that page there, and some more explanation. I won't go over it fully again because we've covered it so many times. Rolling shutter illumination.
I had never even heard of that until I came on your channel.
Yeah, so well, it's all part of analyzing UFO videos, of course. Probably a lot of people in MUFON don't even understand rolling shutter, right? But they can work it out in other ways, like they can put the object in plane finder, call up the airports, that sort of thing, and they can figure it out that way without using video analysis. But it's good to be able to kick it off on all things, you know. Have an idea on video analysis, then go and pin it with the other software tools, right? So I'll just close that one down. So I'm not scripting things. I'm just trying to say what I'm trying to think in real time to you. So it's not going to be perfect. And I might just slip up too on what I'm trying to explain. So here's an example of what a CMOS sensor looks like inside your camera. Obviously, it's a lot smaller than that. That's where the millimeters in size of the sensor that they talk about in the calculations, where you can work out the size of an object is based on the size of the sensor screen and all that sort of stuff. But here you can see how they're sort of simulating and the
Flatbed scanner.
Yeah, it's like a flatbed scanner, but it's scanning a chunk of photocells as it's closing the shutter, right? So it's got to zero out all those photocells as it's going down, and store it in the process to build up the image line by line. And then it goes around for the next snapshot. So the key point here is professional cameras come with two shutters. They come with a physical shutter, which closes the iris, like James Bond that you see in James Bond with the shutter thing. You can get all different shapes of irises. So normally, like they call it blades. They have various shaped blades, and that use electric motor to close it and open. I suppose there's an emanation somewhere. Just see, are these emanations of a iris? Is that emanation? There we go. Says emanation up there. But you can see this one's got curvy blades. Some of them have like square hexagon types. Well, not square hexagon, square rectangle bits. And that one's not plain, is it?
No.
Maybe to go to the website. Let's go to that one now. Right, you have to play it, do you? So you can see how it's sort of the blades close and make it close off the light to the sensor. So that's Shutterstock. Because we've got the watermark on here and it's on a web page, we can use it. I'm not sure where you want all the sparkly effect though. I guess some people use it for presentations, maybe.
Yeah. A little silly, but
yeah.
What the heck?
Well, here's one that's got more rectangle blades, as I was talking about. So you get the hexagon shape. So, you know, when you see UFO videos that turn into diamonds, that's because it's using a square one. Is that a square one? Those square ones here. So they can have various sides, 10 sides, 12 sides. Makes it more of a finer hole that closes down. So if you change your focal length and zoom in on a light in the sky, you're going to see more of the internal camera workings of the iris here, and you'll get a hexagon type shape. So we've covered that before, but let's see if we can find any. Camera iris lens flare. Oh, is it called lens flare though? Let's see. Normally call it artifact. Let's see. So you get all these weird shapes, right? Got triangle patterns. I mean, hexagon patterns or whatever. You can see it in the reflections, and you get the star pattern because of the corners of the blades, right? It's not perfect circle, so you get the star patterns happening in the corners of the hexagon. So that's what causes that. Now, from what I understand, is smartphone cameras don't have a physical shutter like professional cameras. They only have electronic one. Unless I'm mistaken, there might be some phones out there, but the Nikon obviously has a physical shutter, like the iris that we're looking at there, and also has a electronic one, which basically electronic shutter. I don't know if you can any images of what that is, but basically it's like a layer of LCD screen which they charge, and it goes black, and it cuts out the light going to the sensor. And so that's another way they do it. Sensor camera
Spammer.
well, not sensor, shutter, I should say. It's like you need to change your phone number.
I know. It's all spam calls too.
Yes. So
Seriously.
it's like we're going to get a picture of one. Here's another one of rolling shutter box. Understand and exposure. Yep. So you can see here it's processing part of the image here, a baseball box. Right? So there's another way of looking at the rolling scan and chunks of line. So if you move slightly your camera up or down, you can see how it's going to change what the sensor's seeing before it's had time to process it. Also, that rolling shutter can cause more problems as well if you're using it for a longer exposure, which means you're slowing it down, so more light gets into the camera. Because if you got a low light, sometimes you have to change how fast the shutter closes. So you want to let more light fall onto the sensors, which means you're more prone to get artifacts like if you're trying to film a scenery and a car with headlights goes by, it's going to leave a smudge on the screen where the car headlights were highlighting the sensors, Cmos sensor. Which we've seen it with some of Tyler's ones claiming they're deep space satellites when it's just a long exposure with a plane lights flying overhead. So we just close that one down. So was there anything else on this one? So here's an example of rolling shutter. Right, so you can see how the fan blades are distorting. Pretty groovy.
That's it. So, yeah.
It sort of stretches the image.
Wow.
You can see it's slightly distorting there. As it goes around, it distorts more and then comes back in again.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets bigger and bigger. It's crazy, really, but it's a real effect there. They've probably set up their long exposure just right so they can make this video, so you can see it in slow motion. But here's another example. You can see here we're getting two images over top of each other, right? Looks like a railway track behind and a bridge or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or another railing of some kind merging together, which obviously is not there. That's because the camera hasn't had time to process it when another chunk of the bridge comes up. And guitar string. So they're talking about how you can minimize the distortion of the shutter. Obviously, they go through a list here. A shorter focal length. Smartphone camera lenses have been multiplying steadily over the years. At one point, new rear cameras seemed revolutionary. Now you can find upwards of 4 and even 5 rear camera lenses in your phone of choice. If you ever tried to zoom in on an object while keeping your camera steady, you know how difficult it is. Yep. That's why we recommend you stick the shortest focal length you can, the widest lens available. Often it is the default camera lens your iPhone or Android phone opens with. Shooting with a shorter focal length will help prevent noticeable shaking or distortion. So I'm not too sure how you zoom that is on the phone app. The longer focal length means you're more likely to contribute to rolling shutter distortion. And the next one is to use a tripod. That way you take away the shake. But as you see, you also need to keep it stationary, really. So it could be on a tripod in the car, but you're still moving. So you're still going to get the rolling shutter. So 3, choose a phone with OIS, EIS. What's that stand for? Optical image stabilization is when a camera is built with a mechanical stabilizer. Mechanical, so it must move it slightly electrically. OIS usually results in remarkable smooth videos compared to cameras without. So there you go. New terminology there. And the other one is electronic image stabilizer. Is a different beast and can be by itself or on top of the iOS footage. OIS footage. As you could guess, it's software designed. So one's obviously hardware and one's software. And they can use both or one or the other. Depending on your device, you might need to get yourself a video recording app for this trick. Such as, what does it say there? Flicknick Pro. So it must be like on the Apple, is it? To help smooth over rolling shutter distortion, slow down your shutter speed as much as possible. So a lot of the UFO people need to pay attention to what this guy's saying here, and I'll post it down. So you've seen all the stuff on Twitter and YouTube lately with people claiming insects and birds are UFOs, and they have no clue about camera technology and not using all these tricks that they're talking about. Of course, a insect flying past your screen is going to go too fast for the camera to process it still. So you need to use a high-end camera that has 1/1000 at least, a minimum, and it still might not be good enough to better capture insects flying past the screen. That's not going to look like a blurred flying disc.
Right.
So to reduce rolling shutter. I think as the technology progresses, as I said last time, you won't need to worry about all this. Like I said, they're already implementing all these other countermeasures, but they also are improving the speed of the CPUs and the sensors. Was there any other ones here? I think there was only 4, wasn't it?
Maybe not. I lied.
5. Watch your movements. So that's what I was talking about, having it in the car. If you find that rolling shutter distortion is really bad when panning your phone, try panning the opposite direction because of the way your phone sensor scans. Okay, so that's what I was saying about left and right scanning and top to bottom, depending which way you got your phone around. Simply just moving in the opposite direction when you pan will reduce the rolling shutter and make a better quality video. So that's a good trick. I never even thought about that. Use an editing program. So some software comes with special algorithms to try and detect rolling shutter and straighten it out. But like I said, if you move your camera in such a way, you're going to lose data of the scene that you're filming. Like you can move the phone if the power line, you're filming a power line, it may suddenly get thinner because you've lost a chunk of it. So there's no way you can fix that. So software is not going to really help too much, I don't think. But if it's really bad, I suppose it could. So it talks about here iMovie on Macintosh has a stabilization effect. Rolling shutter. So stabilization, as you know, if you got the image that's moving all over the place, and they're trying to keep the subject always in center of the video, when you're walking or whatever like that, and it uses references from the previous frame to work out how much it's moved, and then adjust it so it's always in the center of the image. So you're talking about 1/30 frames a second on most videos. As I said yesterday, last live, that Cmos suffers from the rolling shutter, but they've been working on it, as you can read here. Canon introduces global shutter Cmos sensor. So the global shutter means that it just takes all the photo cells at once and processes it instead of scanning down. You got some wind noise happening there. You got the fan going, John. John, are you there? I think he might have taken off. John, you still there? I can't hear you, mate. Are you there, John?
Yeah.
All I'm getting is a wind noise. Sounds like you're outside.
No, I had to take off the headphones for a second and you picked up the fan. Sorry about that.
All right. Okay, so as I was saying, the Canon introduces global shutter CMOS sensor with improved dynamic range. So I guess that's it. It doesn't look much, does it? But if you look at it in microscopic, there's a lot of photo cells on it and capacitance and storage. Oop, let's just zoom back a bit. Canon, this was back in when? 2016, was it? So at the end of 2016. So it's only in the last few years that they've been getting around this rolling shutter problem with high-end new technology coming out for cameras. So it's going to be a while before it's in smartphones. Canon has announced global shutter CMOS sensor with a redesigned pixel structure aimed at boosting dynamic range. Using global shutter presents a clear benefit for the sensor's videography applications, as it doesn't suffer from the distortion effects that a standard progressive scan sensor does when capturing fast-moving objects. However, global shutter designs have intended to offer less dynamic range than their conventional counterparts. Canon says that the sensor-derived system, the way it reads out, increases the amount of light the sensor can capture before overexposing. This is combined with a more efficient pixel structure and optimized, because we talked about overexposure last live with the black sun. So when they make things smaller and smaller, right, it means it can store less light saturation, and it can overflow and cause these artifacts. So as the pixel ranges go up to 25 megapixels and they're cramming more and more in the circuit, it suffers from that overexposure problem. That's what they're saying here, which I tried to explain last time, but maybe I didn't explain it well enough, I don't know. But so they're saying that's going to cause less distortion and less overexposure there, and that's back in the end of 2016, 2016. And some more articles here I found as well. Global. So if we get these into smartphones in the next few years, and the old ones get thrown out and people start filming, we're going to see less of these blurfos, as we call them. And we won't get the bugs so much. There'll be sharper images. Of course, we're still stuck by the shutter speed on the phones unless they tweak that up. So we're still going to get UFOs submitted that are birds and bugs still, but they'll be more defined, hopefully. Which you won't get that. You won't get the rod effect on phones anymore. But you'll still get blur shapes happening, but you won't get this thing happening. So that's rolling shutter happening here, where it looks like they've got lots of little fins. All right.
Yep.
Bang, bang, bang. You can see here it's scanning left to right landscape. So as that bug's moving, it's being captured in the next slice. The bug's moving at the same speed as the shutter speed, and it looks like it's a caterpillar with wings in the sky. So you're going to scan, 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 and the bug's moved further along. Scan, and then the bug's still there, right? And it's moved further along. You scan, scan, scan. So that's how that sort of happens. It should make perfect sense. Here's another one that's going across that way. This one here, we got some motion blur. Mysterious flying creatures. Of course, there's another one that's probably just a beetle or fly going across, and you're just seeing the beaten wings twice. So it's going that way. The rolling shutter, as you can see, with that playing propeller, stretches. So you can see here that it's sort of defined, and then it sort of stretches it more and more as it's going this direction and upwards. So it's getting bigger and bigger, stretched more. So that's not what it actually looks like, of course. So yeah, makes some crazy effects. There you go. And we got some more insect ones flying across the volcano. Okay, and this one here, that's really crazy. Lots of bugs around a light here. Looks like a lamppost light or something. That's moths. So yeah. But I'm not saying that some of the rod images are camera artifacts, because there's some really high-end cameras that have global shutter and very fast refresh rates, and should be able to capture a single wing flap of a bird or insect. But you can see even the best cameras with rolling shutters will still have that effect. So, but the thing is, I've actually seen one with my own eyes. So me trying to debunk it, it sort of goes in my face of seeing this thing that I saw fly over the house one day. So, so I believe that there are real rods out there, and I believe a lot of them are probably 99% of them are camera artifact, and that's where the problem lies. It's not black or white, but it's grey. So that's what I'm saying. People always want it to be black or white, but they can't accept it being grey, a grey area. In in English terms, as you know what I'm trying to say anyway. So what was this one here? I think we finished with that one too. So we'll just close that one down. Yeah, I don't think I was going to spend so long on this topic. Okay, so this one's from this year, February. I know, February last year. So that's another year on from the other article. Now, Sony has been doing some amazing sensors. We looked at that on previous lives with the Starlight sensor, where it can pick up really low light. It's just amazing images, and also they've using special filters to be able to get full color night vision, which is amazing for a few $100s. So I think we're going to have some amazing cameras on our phones at some stage. That's going to be, off the shelf $20 jobs. Supply versus demand, right? So more people that buy it, the cheaper it gets. So it pays off their R&D research and development. So Sonny,
Rob is trying.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's all right.
Rob's trying to join.
All right. Has he been watching it?
I don't know.
Okay. Rob's trying to join. All he has to do is go into OT group and click camera icon. But we're going to need to step him through his volume because last time it was crackling at the end.
Right.
Are you talking to him at the moment?
No. There he is. Where is he? There he is. He's in the live chat.
Yeah,
he's in the live chat.
Yeah. Right. I'll just jump in there then. Robert, you there? Robert? Why is it not working? Robert? Can't hear anything there. I wonder if it's stuffed up here. I'll just check. Shouldn't have done. Hello. Voice meter should be right. Hello. I see it had some message up the top there. Are you there, John? Robert? Looks like something's happened. Robert, are you there? Mine's not flashing, so what's gone wrong with this silly thing? It pops up a message, but it doesn't keep it on the screen. It's because I got it. Hello. Don't think it's working. John, you there? I'll just have to send a message. Gonna have to work out this. I have to do this with a non-app window to be able to give permission, I think. Let's see. Let's see how to do it. There's always problems. Let's see, which one's that using? That's not it. I can't hear any of you guys now. I think John's gone. I think that's A. How do we get permissions up on this? Should already be there. So it's gone wrong. So Heard something. I think John's lost my image though. Discord app. Okay. Is it working now? Oh no. We're getting double. It's not on that one. Let me just figure this out. We'll get it going in a minute. Hang on. I didn't load it. I can hear something. That's A. Probably because I got it going to the same place. It should be working. Let me just. Where's it going this time? These guys there? Can you hear? No, I can't hear you either. It's all screwed up, John. Hello. Let me just get the camera working again. Are you there? Are you there? Hello. Where you gone, John? You're not there, mate. Can you hear me? No, I can't hear you. The permission. Probably gonna stuff up my live stream. Actually, portable app. Let me see. Let me see if I can fix it. Come on. I'm not sure why you got no sound. So That's something your end, I think. I heard eat then. Let's go. That wasn't working, I don't think. Discord. Channels. We're gonna have to sort that permission thing out. I need a taskbar, and he comes up with taskbar. It's not the same. Keeps coming up in that one. I don't know. I suppose we could do the Discord app instead then. Never ending problems. I suppose Robert's not in there anymore. Are you there? Can you hear me? It looks like it's working on the Discord app. I'm in the room. Hello, hello. Yeah, maybe I've hit the buttons. No, I haven't done anything stupid like that. Oh, you've killed up the other one now, John. Let me just close that down. Oh yeah, well, we use a Discord app, I suppose. I can't hear you though. I'm not too sure why. Makes no sense. Ah, right, that's going through the microphone on the laptop. That won't be any good to use. Let's see if I can close that down. Hello, hello. Why is it not working? Unbelievable. Not muted. Hello. These guys are gone. I have to go to the room. I've got to go to the video room and call you. That's got to work. Now get out the voice room, guys, and wait for me to call you. Hello, hello.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Excellent.
There's
Rob, are you there?
Something wrong with the voice room settings. Now, Robert should be able to join in. As long as he doesn't go into the voice room, we're right. Video is the choice. Okay, he's not there.
He's...
Yeah, I've clicked voice.
There we go.
Hi, Rob.
Oh.
These guys sabotaging my live stream.
Oh, yeah, it's us. Yeah.
Yeah, have to play around with that voice room again settings. There's something strange there that's happened with the permissions, but looks of it. And I couldn't get the. It puts a little bar. It puts a bar at the top, which because it's on a app window, you don't see, of course, and they don't take that into account. Puts that little camera icon on the URL line, which I can't get to enable permission to the microphone and all that. So you can see my desktop now. We're back. We're working properly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Obviously, it's the string working though. Let's see. It looks like it's working all right. I think it's picking up our mics there and sound, hopefully. Right, where was
Yep, it is.
I? So, Robert, you there still or not?
Certainly am, sir.
Yeah.
Good man, good man.
Have we got the
Rob.
volume levels right for you? Can you just
Thank you, John.
Can you just say something? I think it's not too loud, but I might just.
No, actually, he sounds pretty good.
Have you checked it on YouTube?
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily come over like that, does it? And I moved it another inch now, but it's a lot further away than it was on the last live.
Are you on a headset?
So hopefully that'll work out.
Are you
Yes, I'm on a headset, Paul.
So
Yeah, actually, I just listened on the live and it sounds okay. It's
Okay,
not
cool.
clicking or anything,
I can
so
turn you
we're good.
down globally, but normally you adjust your volume in here, Robert. And you normally go. Oh, go and click the wrong one.
Oh, how I can hear you, you mean?
No, you can
No,
control.
no.
You're meant to be able to control your volume. Whereabouts is it? It's all got moved around here. You're meant to be able to control
Oh, yeah.
your microphone inputs here with the cog. You're seeing that?
Yep.
And you should go to video and voice, and you should be able to make it less loud by moving that down. Although, for some reason, last time we tried on the browser version, it doesn't work. I think it doesn't on the.
For God's sakes, Paul, don't complicate things for me.
Exactly. You're fine, Rob. Don't touch anything. You're fine.
Yeah. So if you want to reduce your input of your microphone, you just move it down just slightly down to there anyway. And it won't cause that crackle effect that we're getting with stupid YouTube, because they encode.
You just cut off again.
You're not cutting off for me though.
I missed a lot of what you said then.
That's not good, John.
Wow.
You're on Wi-Fi though.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if I should change the server then, because he's in UK and you're in America, right? And you have no problem.
Yeah, see, I've got a full signal.
Yeah. I think we're okay on this end. It's a Discord does that sometimes. Been acting up. Most definitely. It was doing it on the other
that
server.
government censoring you over there? They're monitoring everything you're doing, Robert. Okay. Can you hear me okay now, or is it still breaking up?
It's perfect.
We can change
you and John perfect.
We can change. I can change the server here to another country, but it'll probably drop you off again.
Yeah. Well.
Oh God.
We're fine, Paul.
Okay, so you can see the screen. Okay, you can see my mouse is over the S there.
Yep.
Okay, so where were we? We're just finishing up on Cmos sensors. So here it says groundbreaking backlit Cmos sensor. So Sony is pushing the envelope on sensors. We're talking about the starlight sensor, which can pick up really low light. So I'll just read out this bit here. So this was a year ago, or not too long ago, just announced a groundbreaking development in the world of camera image sensors. It has created a 1.46 megapixel black illuminated CMOS sensor that has global shutter. This is the first ever CMOS sensor of over 1 megapixel that has both back illumination and global shutter. Back illumination is an image sensor design that uses its arrangement of imaging elements to increase the amount of light it captures. That's captured, leading to improved low light performance. So that's the starlight sensor they're talking about there. Well, this type of design was previously used for things like astro cameras and security cameras. It has become prominent technology in consumer still photographic cameras. Also, it should be in smartphones because everybody's recording UFOs. And a lot of the UFOs, as you know, are TR-3Bs at nighttime. So we go down here. Let's see what we got. So that's the rolling shutter again.
Wowzers.
rolling shutter thing, so you can see it bends the propeller because it's spinning faster than the shutter. So it gets the multiple images off the blade as it goes around. The new Sony sensor comes with newly developed low light, so that's what we just read here. Compact analog to digital converter precision beneath each pixel. So as we read last time, that they said CCD was analog design, and it had to have extra chips to process the analog into a digital image. Well, the Cmos sensor has it built into each of the photocells. So basically, it converts it straight to a digital input, and obviously it can process faster in that respect. Achieve the parallel and also parallel, right? So parallel AD conversion. I said, I think I wrongly said CCD was parallel, but I actually got it around the wrong way. CMOS is parallel, and CCD is actually a serial scan, serial read off the inputs, which is a bit like rolling shutter, but it's doing it all in the background after the shutter closes, so it doesn't have the rolling shutter effect that the CMOS was getting. So basically, they've redesigned it here so they can do away with the rolling shutter, and the way they've redesigned it is so it can process it really fast and do it in parallel, that it's doing it all in one go. So yeah, so what's the comments down here? Any useful ones? Definitely cool. Hope to see it in consumer stuff soon. So this shows how many people like cameras out there. There's quite a few comments there. Load more, it says down there. So that's that article there. I'll just post it down the side if people want to read the full thing. Sony global shutter. I think it's got a different name for it too. Shutter. Rolling shutter. Let's see. It has another name. I know it has another name.
Anyway, you can expand that window, Paul. It's really tiny print from what I'm seeing.
Tiny.
Tiny.
Hey, I got it zoomed in. It's really big writing at the moment.
What you can do, Rob, is there's a little arrow on the bottom of Paul's what you can see of Paul's screen.
Oh, is that what he's done?
Click it,
yeah.
Yeah, if you click on that, it'll expand it out for you.
You're looking on Discord, so you have to expand it to full screen. You got it on full screen?
Yeah, look.
Yeah, I suppose we better show him.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to. Go ahead under where we have our icons on the right hand side there.
See here, we got writing underneath. If you go click on that arrow, makes it bigger. All right, so you get, on the left side here's a little arrow, makes it full screen. And if you want to get rid of all this, you can click on this one on the far right, makes it full screen. But I won't do that because it stuffs me up. All right, does that make sense?
That's better.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. Good picking up there, John. I didn't think about that.
Happens.
Okay, so yeah, I was just trying to find the other name for global shutter. I should know it. Let's see, global shutter. Well, that didn't help really much. Google did it. Global shutter. Let's see. Suppose it's not going to tell me, is it? I think global shuttles the one that's sort of most used now. I know I've covered it on previous lives. What's it called? Global shutter or it can have an alternative name that it used to be called. I suppose it don't matter. I thought I could find it quickly then, but I can't. So yeah, we'll just close that one down and we can move on to the next subject. Hopefully. So as Vern was talking to me last night, he said that rockets are destroying the ozone layer and it's going to become a bigger problem. So first of all, we'll go through what ozone is. And a few things about ozone. Yep, not that one. Okay, so we got this one here. I'll see if I can make the font bigger without zooming. How's that? That looking all right? So here's ozone. It's 2 oxygen atoms with a third one joined. So it's O3. Ozone is created in the atmosphere when the sun's rays split oxygen molecules into single atoms. These atoms combine with nearby oxygen to form, which is O2, to form a 3 oxygen molecule called ozone. Even as it's being made, ozone is also destroyed by sunlight and reactions involving natural compounds that contain chlorine, nitrogen, and hydrogen. So that's where we're talking about pollution, right? Hydrocarbons going up in the atmosphere, reacting with the ozone layer and causing other compounds to be formed. Most of Earth's ozone is contained in the atmosphere, a layer of the atmosphere 10 to 40 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. The amount of ozone in the stratosphere is fairly constant when viewed globally. I lost my place now. Viewed globally, however, it changes throughout the year and from one place to another. Most of the world's ozone is created over the tropics and is then pushed by stratospheric winds over the rest of the planets. In the Arctic, ozone typically collects in the stratosphere during the winter darkness. So there you go, a little picture there. The ozone layer is typically thicker over the poles than over the equator for 3 reasons. First is the lack of sunlight during and an Arctic winter to break it down. Second, seasonal weather systems and wind patterns in the atmosphere push more ozone towards the poles in winter. Third, the vertical structure of the atmosphere affects thickness. Near the equator, the troposphere makes up about 18 kilometers of the atmosphere, and at the poles it thins to nearly 8 kilometers thick. The boundary between the layers, called the tropopause, slopes downwards from the equator to the poles like the bottom of a swimming pool. Over the Arctic, at the deepest part of the pool, the thicker stratosphere can hold more ozone than over the tropics or middle latitudes. The atmosphere over the Arctic also holds more ozone than in the Antarctica because stratosphere winds in the southern hemisphere are less effective at transporting ozone. So there you go. So obviously it takes energy from the sun rays to interact with the ozone to change the bonding. He's typing down the side here. We got someone down the side.
We have Todd on the side.
Have we?
Todd,
I didn't even see Todd. Too busy troubleshooting and presentating. Yeah, I'm not really popular, Todd. Hey guys, I'm the one. Yeah, well, if you come into my video chat, you can talk as well if you want to. I am moving to a new house. Pretty hectic. Yeah, tell me about it. Moving houses and lifting all that furniture is a good way to do your back in. So that's what ozone is. So we know what ozone is. It stops a lot of the radiation getting to us down on the Earth's surface, right? Because it's reacting with the oxygen, and without the ozone there reacting with the sunlight, the radiation, I suppose more of it gets to us at the ground level. Is what they're saying here. So we'll just close that one down. Oh, actually, I should just post the link. Keep it going. So, but I found some really interesting stuff on the rockets, which I'll cover as soon as I can. Ozone. What is it? Is it gone all right, or is it stuffed up? Sometimes I cut and paste the wrong thing. Let's see, close tab. And negative ion generators for your bedroom or house if you've got allergies. Some of them come with ozone generators on them. You should never be in the room when ozone's being created if you've got one of these things, because it damages your lungs. It's because you know that anything with oxygen is very highly reactive. So it reacts with your cells of your lungs and stuff, and can. So if you've got asthma and stuff, you should avoid ozone at all costs. So here's some paper where they've done various researches on it to see how effective it is. EPA and all that sort of stuff. Really, it's a bit. How is ozone? So the same chemical problems that allow high concentration of ozone, and it's got off the edge of the screen, react with organic material outside the body, give it ability to react with similar organic. Who dropped off then? And potentially cause harmful health consequences. When inhaled, ozone can damage the lungs. Relatively low amounts can cause chest pain, coughing, and shortness of breath, and throat irritation, as they may also worsen chronic respiratory diseases such as asthma, blah blah blah. So I sort of said, you can see there's a lot of stuff here. Ozone is good for the planet, but not good for us. It's basically what they're saying here, and plants will suffer as well. Anything organic. Ozone generators typically provide a controlled setting by which the ozone output can be adjusted. So I used to have one of these that created ozone. The ones I've got at the moment only create ions, negative ions in the air, which are safe, which get rid of pollutants. But because the ion creates probably through oxygen and joins onto other things floating around the atmosphere and form heavier molecules, obviously fall to the ground. Most of the time they cling onto a wall. So if you put a negative ion generator next to the wall, you'll see the wall will gradually get blacker and blacker with like carbon. That's what happened in my previous house, and the wallpaper got so dirty that it was unable to be cleaned. It just because there was a lot of pollution in Christchurch. They have a lot of open fires, especially years ago. now they've got more control on filters in chimneys and reduce the amount of soot and carbon emissions coming from log fires, right? So, but yes, it was really bad in Christchurch at some point where it's like China. You go outside in winter and you'd be coughing and really be struggling to breathe. It's really bad, especially when we don't have much wind. It just builds up in Christchurch because of the way the hills go around the city and that.
Phoenix is the same way.
Is it?
Inversion layer, and it holds in the pollution.
I'll just post the scientific report here. But ozone is really good at getting rid of bad odors. You know, rising damp, I find it really good in a really damp room. You put it on for 5 minutes, leave the room, and then you hold your breath, come and open up the window or whatever, and let it all sort of settle back down to normal oxygen levels, and you find the room is fresher. So there's another report here I got where people were actually defending ozone as actually working really good, because another report was saying it doesn't really work. I think it says here too that ozone is no good for odor removal, but that's not true. So this way you don't always believe some scientific papers where they may not have tested it on various situations. They may have tested it on maybe garlic in the room, which was less effective, but not tested it in a rising damp, smelly, musty type room. So ozone generator, I suppose we should bring up a picture of it.
I've got mine running as we speak.
Not ozone though, have you?
Yeah, it's an air filtration system. I paid a fortune.
Yeah, but it's not pumping ozone into the air while you're in the room, are you?
Yeah.
Because that's bad for you. That might explain.
If you have it up too high, yes. Right.
Well, any amount, basically, what they're saying, which might affect why you have trouble breathing stuff. I've just been given a hot sandwich here. I'll just nibble on it.
Rob has left the room.
Has he gone?
Yeah, he said it was only getting about 1/3 of the conversation. So
after all that hassle. I don't know what's going on there in that case.
Well, I was in the Discord server, the gaming server with Gerard earlier, and that's a bit of trouble, especially on the voice. It was pretty bad.
Something's happened to our voice channel for some reason. We'll figure it out again.
They keep changing things around, darn it.
Okay, so these are the units you can buy that pump out ozone. And normally they're dual units where it does ions as well as ozone. There's a lot of different designs out there. So that's what we're talking about. So you can buy them for your house. Where was that one? Is that the one I've just posted? Yeah, isn't it? I think it says here about if you do use it, stay out the room. So here's another article here. Allergy and air. Again, it carries on from the other article there. 4 reasons you should never use an ozone generator to clean your indoor air. And I'll see if I can get the machine to read it out while I munch on this sandwich.
Ozone generators.
Right, it's gone to the wrong speaker. I don't know what does that. It's just stupid. Okay. So they're talking about these HEPA filters are safer at removing odors from the air. I haven't actually heard about one of these. It must be like American.
1. Ozone generators may not work at all. Some manufacturers suggest that ozone will render nearly every chemical contaminant in the home harmless by producing a chemical reaction. This is incredibly misleading because a thorough review of scientific research has shown that in order for many of the dangerous chemicals found indoors to be eliminated, the chemical reaction process may take months or even years. Other studies have also, PDF, noted that ozone cannot effectively remove carbon monoxide or from outside. If used at concentrations that do not exceed public health standards, ozone applied to indoor air pollution does not effectively remove viruses, mold, bacteria, or other biological pollutants. 2. The chemical reaction can be dangerous even if ozone generators were proven to be effective at eliminating these chemicals. There are certain side effects everyone must be aware of. Many of the chemicals ozone reacts to results in a variety of harmful byproducts. For example, when ozone was mixed with chemicals from new carpet in a laboratory setting, the ozone reduced many of the chemicals but created a variety of dangerous organic chemicals in the air. While the target chemicals were reduced, the dangerous byproducts rendered the process smooth. 3. Ozone generators do not remove particulates. A third factor to consider when looking at ozone generators is that they do not remove particulates such as dust or pollen from the air. This includes the particles which are primarily responsible for allergic reactions. To combat this, some ozone generators include an anionizer which disperses negatively charged ions into the air. In recent analyses, this process was found to be less competent in the removal of airborne molecules of dust, smoke, pollen, and mold spores than HEPA filters and electrostatic precipitators. 4. It is impossible to predict exposure levels. The EPA notes that it is increasingly difficult to determine the actuators come into play. Concentrations will be higher if more powerful device is used in smaller spaces. Whether or not the interior door closed rather than open will affect concentrations as well. Additional factors which affect concentration levels include how many materials and furnishings are in the room to react with ozone, the level of outdoor air ventilation, and the proximity of a person to the ozone generating device.
It seemed to be reading out faster today, didn't it?
It's only because you're eating while it's reading, that's why.
So, what are these HEP filter things?
HEPA filters. The safer and more effective solution. Choosing a HEPA filter is a significantly safer and effective solution than an ozone generator. Instead of releasing dangerous ozone, a HEPA filter traps indoor air pollutants rather than trying to create a chemical reaction with them. HEPA filters are the only type of air cleaners which meet specific EPA standards for efficacy. This means when you purchase an air purifier which relies on this type of technology, you can rest easy knowing exactly what the level of effectiveness will be. In many cases, this type of filter is often combined with other technologies, such as activated carbon, to provide even better results. Utilizing a pre-filter and activated carbon, air purifiers can remove solid, chemical, and gaseous pollutants from the air and dramatically improve indoor air quality.
So there you go. Not everyone agrees, so as you can read here.
Yeah.
My middle daughter has terrible allergies. This looks like an air purifier would help so much. I had one for 15 years. It worked great. Our daughter had problems with being sick constantly until we got our Breeze machine. Haven't heard of that one. You can run it on low. It keeps the air clean and fresh. And never run the sanitizer unless you're going to be gone. When you come home, dust and vacuum, it gets rid of all hair, dog hair. I love using it in our bedroom when changing sheets, I mean. Put it on your bed and hit sterilizer. 2 hours later, dust, vacuum, mattress, then make your bed. So there you go. People recommend ozone is good, but don't be in the room when it's working. I suppose it would make a really strong collection in the room, which is really toxic, probably. And it's that when you get that high level, then ozone actually works. I think that's what the reports missed. They missed the point. They were using ozone at safe levels, doesn't have any impact. But if you put it on, if you get one of these machines that makes it above safe levels, they often have a warning in the booklet saying do not be in the room when you're using it. Then it actually is effective. So I think maybe the study there needs to be and bad smell on the sheets, like they're saying here. Did you say it gets rid of dog hair or the danger from dogs' skin? I'm not sure what he means by that.
Dander.
It would be amazing if these devices could disintegrate dog hair. I never have trouble with Charlie because he's got that type of hair that's not like really thick hair like other dogs or cats have. This is unique, really. But he gets cold, so he has to have a quilt in winter to keep him warm. I suppose he's like one of those skinless dogs in a way. Me too.
No. You said a skinless dog.
Well, I mean a hairless dog. You know what I mean? A hairless. What do you call them? The Japanese. Is it Japanese ones?
Gosh, I don't know.
What are they called? Not a pug with lots of skin.
Oh, you're thinking of a Shar-Pei, aren't you?
Something like that. Something like that. Get these dogs that don't actually have the fur, and also same with the cats. You can get the cats without the fur.
Yep.
I agree. It does work. Bought an inexpensive small one as we had water come into our basement. So what do you have after you dry it up? Musty smells. Yep. Well, it took the musty smell out and has a fresh outdoor smell. Did follow the instructions and not have anyone in the room while it's running. Love the machine. Don't know why I don't buy this years ago. Yep. And it makes it really nice. Ozone has no other brand but an irritant. Ozone generators using pure oxygen as the feed gas. The efficiency really goes above 15%. In these little home units, the output of ozone is in the 1% range as a matter of efficiency. The air you are using only contains 20% O2. Odors, mold, mildew. When injected into water, it will destroy everything it comes into contact with, but we easily destroy O3 by passing it over a catalyst bed. It dissipates quickly in the gas form. Whoever researched this did not do their homework. I am a lead controls engineer for Ceylon. We have been making these generators for decades. Trust me, it's not as bad as the author is making it sound. When a lightning storm passes, the fresh smell in the air is ozone. It is created naturally in the atmosphere. It was If it was as toxic as they say, millions would die as the lightning strikes occur. So I'd have to agree with that guy. I think that someone's put the BS word here. So yeah, I don't know, if you in your chest and wheezing and it's producing some ozone, maybe you could turn it off to see if that pain disappears, right? Me, I've not really had any trouble. I've breathed in ozone too, and a unique smell. Smell of ozone. Have you smelled it, John?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How would you?
Especially out here in the desert after thunderstorms, it's a very not acrid. It's a sharp odor. You'd recognize it instantly.
Yeah, it is very sharp, isn't it? I'm just trying to think of a word to describe it. Really, I wouldn't say it was a fresh smell, but I'd say you can definitely detect it anyway with our nose. I don't know how animals would thing with it. So you can see a lot of comments here. So if you want to go through that one and have a read, did I post that one? I suppose we've lost Todd as well, have we?
Possibly so.
One watching, is that
me, Paul?
Is that you watching
me.
still? Is it?
That's me.
Yeah. This is one. Allergies. Read the comments. Here we go. I just need to get a drink after eating that sandwich. How are we going for time anyway?
Let's take a look, see, shall we?
1 hour 30. 1.5 hours. It feels like a long time actually. People say this ain't on about UFOs. Well, the front bit was about UFOs, about filming them. What you got to watch out for. And this one, ozone, I think is important. Makes you wonder how UFOs, if UFOs entering and exiting the atmosphere, they're punching holes in the atmosphere. They're moving the atmosphere around differently. Same with rockets going through. How big of an impact would that cause? So I'll just close that one down. So that made me see if we can actually produce ozone. You know how everyone's talking about carbon's destroying it. So that's on rockets. Let me scale this up. Is there any way to create ozone that could be used to fill the holes in the ozone layer? It makes sense, doesn't it? You could have C generators that's generating it. But the problem with ozone, it's so reactive. So any molecules any carbon odors or anything that it comes in contact with is obviously going to attach to it. And ozone is destroyed very quickly. So how would you get it into the atmosphere? So as it's going up, it's going to be reacting lots of things as it's going up. So you're not actually going to fill the hole, but maybe you could have these C generators, right? That's releasing it into the air, which is reacting with all the pollutants. So I can't see why it's not possible myself. You could build like a mole high, like a tower, right? You do it in Saudi Arabia, and you can stick piping from the sea generators or whatever from the sea there all the way up the tower and release it at the very top. And that way it would sap all the pollution that's coming from the city from below. I just can't see why people would be naysayers about it. As you know, wave generators are possible because the Australians were working on such technology. So there are actually two problems here. It isn't very efficient to make ozone. It's one of the more common industrial pollutants and may be responsible for increased rate of lung cancer. So they're even saying here factories produce ozone as well as carbon emissions. sort of goes against the idea, doesn't it? So if it's releasing carbon and ozone, you think it would react and cancel out a lot of the pollution as well. So they're saying that could be a cause for lung cancer on high latitude cities. However, the quantity needed is substantial. Ozone is being lost by a catalytic process in which the pollutant Cl2F2 is destroyed. I suppose that's hydrochloride, is it? Or whatever it's called. So that a small quantity of the material can reduce a large quantity of ozone. The other issue, getting the ozone into the atmosphere. Ozone is very high reactive and has a relatively short lifespan in the troposphere and is indeed heavier than normal air. On the other hand, it might be possible to introduce a competitive catalytic agent which creates ozone to the upper atmosphere. One still must keep the scale of the process in mind. Millions of tons of freon are released each year. One possibility of dealing with such scales is creation of a suitable biological organism which can multiply on its own accord. This is already being done for combating oil spills. However, the key issue is subsequent control. So there might be ways, but the issue is the cause is worse than the disease.
The cure is worse than the disease.
Well, a lot of reading there.
Yeah.
Answer 2. There are several ways to produce ozone. The most common one is passing an electric discharge through a tube filled with oxygen. In the home generators, obviously it's got a fan or whatever, something similar to that sucks in the air, and the charge reacts with any oxygen in the air, right? So it's saying here 302 grams plus energy equals 203. So it's saying 3 molecules of oxygen in the air plus energy, which is electric discharge, and produces 2 ozones. So that means you can go the opposite way, right? So if you add an energy to oxygen, there must be a way to split this and release energy from ozone. And that's where it's actually used in the idea of rockets. So we'll come to that in a minute. Now, even if we can produce ozone in the lab or even industrial quantities, we have a planet lack the technological capability to produce any gas that would make a significant change in the planet's atmosphere. Well, we can produce lots of carbohydrates that just destroy the atmosphere. So why can't we just create stuff that will actually mend the atmosphere? So I don't really agree with that. It's way too big for human endeavors. I don't think so. But it does not mean it's not possible for things that used to be way beyond the capabilities of mankind only 50 years ago are now commonplace. Here we can only wait and see. An important additional remark is the ozone hole is not actually a hole, something set there and is stable. Scientists use that term to refer to the seasonal variation of the concentration of ozone in the upper layers of the atmosphere. We can say the ozone layer gets thinner during the winter and almost regains its normal thickness during the spring. The effect was discovered in 1985. Man, there's quite a few answers here. Now, there's lots of ways to create ozone. The problem is to get ozone to the right place. So I guess these answers from different people. Answer 4. I believe the problem is not there's not enough ozone produced in the atmosphere, but the chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs. that have made their way up into the atmosphere are very long-lived. They are meant to be inert for use on the ground and disrupt the process that creates the ozone that protects us from damaging solar radiation. We've done a lot of quartile use of CFCs, so the situation should improve slowly. So that's probably it. So, John, no one's interested in rocket science today, I guess. Let's see.
Well, I want to learn.
Have you learned anything new so far today?
Yes, I've learned I have to turn off my ozone generator. It's killing me.
Well, it could be.
Actually, I already knew that.
Well, if it's below safety levels, it probably isn't, but it may. There's something you can test. You see if you turn it off to see if you feel better. I don't know. Do you cough a lot? Do you sneeze? Your cat sneezes a lot, but you didn't have it when you had the cat, though, did you?
Right. Yeah. No, his sneezing thing is God knows what that's all about. But when I bought the ozone, it's a generator and an air purifier, blah blah. And I read that very specifically, and it said, you know, if you can smell the ozone, you've got it on too high and it's dangerous. You must back it off.
Right.
So I just keep it at a really low level.
Yeah,
seems to work.
Because they have a dull setting depending on the size of the room, right?
Yes.
Normally you should only use it for deodorizing. Like they said, turn it on. Normally it goes on for a timer. You know, the one I had was like 5 minutes, and you put it on ozone, and it does ozone for 5 minutes, and then you just aerate the room after, and yeah, it works as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
And I've not had any health effects. I've got a iron generator. I sleep with it every day, so that probably produces a wee bit of ozone in the process as well as charging the atmosphere. So, but I can't smell it. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it does kill the odors that we generate.
Well, I'm a smoker, and that's why I bought it, and it does a brilliant job.
Yeah, but they reckon not in that science article, which I say is BS, same as the other people were saying. So I think it's the combination and how much it produces, right? Did I post that one there? No. Can you mend ozone hole?
Yeah, I remember that was the big thing over Australia. The ozone hole, oh my God.
It's getting bigger and bigger. But it's not actually a hole. That's what they're saying. I suppose it has pictures of it actually. Let's just see if we can find a picture of it. Let's see. Ozone. And plus, we got a building industry complex out Rolleston Way called Ozone. Not ozone, but Ozone. It's got an O in front. I mean, it's got an I in front instead of an O. Images. So here's the hole they're talking about, I guess. I suppose it's sort of like a hole.
Definitely a thinning.
And that looks like Arctic one up here. So it can change shape, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, New Zealand's over that. So yeah, we can go out in the sun and we can actually feel like we've really been cooked after 15 minutes. So Australia would be the same.
That's kind of scary.
What's that one there? from ultraviolet, is it? UVC, UVB, UVA. Which one's the dangerous one for skin cancer?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
9% absorption, 5% absorption, 9%, 100%. So UVC, I'm not too sure what all that is actually. Maybe we can have a look at this article. We're sort of getting sidetracked a bit on ozone at the moment. It's just a load of pictures. It's a good picture though.
Birdie.
So it looks like UVA is what gets down to the ground here. Maybe it's UVC, which are the problem ones, or UVB, because it looks like it's getting down further. 100%. Okay, so what's is UVC? Oh. UVC refers to ultraviolet lights. But we're looking for C. What's UVC stand for? I have to type that in again, I think. There we go. Let's find out. Once Dr. Vern was on, he would know what it was. Vern knows everything. Okay. 3 types of UV radiation are classified according to their wavelength. They differ in the biological activity and the extent to which they can penetrate the skin. The shorter wavelength, the more harmful the UV radiation. However, shorter wavelength UV radiation is less able to penetrate the skin. Shorter wavelength UVC is the most damaging type. So UVC is the dangerous one. What's it stand for though? However, it is completely filtered by the atmosphere. It's going to get down thinner. Some of it's going to get through. Medium wavelength UVB is very biologically active, but cannot penetrate beyond the superficial skin layers. As you know, we've always got a layer of dead skin. It's reasonable to delay tannin. Reasonable for delayed tannin and burning. Responsible, I mean. Responsible for delayed tannin and burning, in additional to the short-term effects. It enhances skin aging and significantly promotes the development of skin cancer. Most solar UVB is filtered by the atmosphere. Okay, relatively long wavelength UVA accounts for approximately 95% of the UV radiation reaching the Earth's surface. It can penetrate into the deeper layers of the skin and is responsible for the immediate tannin effect. Furthermore, it also contributes to skin aging and wrinkling. For a long time, it was thought that UVA could not cause any lasting damage. Recent studies strongly suggest that it may also enhance the development of skin cancers.
Wonder.
So there you go. Obviously, it didn't give us too much scientific there of the wavelengths, nanometers and all that sort of stuff. So, as you know, light harmful because it's more high energy energy that reacts with us. It doesn't generate heat, but it causes cooking, burning. So really, when you're in the sun, you feel infrared as well as UV light falling on you. So you have to use obviously skin lotions to try and act as a barrier. So that gets us on to rockets topic, the last hour. So let's see, where do I start on this one? So ask an expert or explainer. What is gases released during rocket propulsion? So I'll just zoom in on that one. Different gases can be released by rockets depending on what fuel the rockets were using. There are many types of rocket fuels available. The purpose of the rocket will determine which fuels is best option. For example, when the space shuttle took off, the fuel used was a mixture of liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen, which meant that the exhaust cloud that one would see afterwards was made up of H2O, also known as water. So I've talked about that before with space shuttle launches, where afterwards rain clouds form, which is from all the exhaust water from the rocket going up. However, they also have solid booster rockets, which also produce bad gases, which will damage the atmosphere. Well, the liquid ones they were using obviously have little to no impact on the ozone layer. So when Vern was saying, "Oh, rockets destroy the ozone layer," and I said, "Doesn't sort of match up with what I read," and that was something like this page here. Ask an expert. But this is really basic answer, so I'm just going to get more into it. Rocket. Let's see what I'm typing there. Gases. Basic answer. So, can rockets destroy the ozone? They certainly can. Same as jet planes can. I'll come to that one in a minute. Okay, and come to those ones later. Let me see which. Did we go through that one? Oh, here we go. So this is a basic diagram of a liquid rocket engine. We got the thing called the oxidizer, and we got the one called fuel. Now, as I said, the liquid could be different things. And they give off more energy or less energy, depending on which ones you're combining. So in the space shuttle, they were mixing hydrogen with oxygen, and that's where the term oxidizer comes in. As you know, if you scrape iron, it basically creates sparks. If you when you see a grinder going on a iron working, you see all the sparks coming off. That's because it's scraping fragments of the iron and put it into the atmosphere. The bits are flying off in the atmosphere, and because it's reacting instantly with oxygen, which causes it suddenly to ignite. So when you got these survival tools, right, you scrape your knife, which is made of iron or stainless steel, onto how do I explain it? It creates shavings, which instantly catch into flames because it's reacting with the oxygen in the atmosphere. So you got to remember that all metals always oxidize. Which we call rust on iron. It goes brown. It keeps on oxidizing. It's very reactive with metals, oxygen. And you also got various ones that burst into flames. What was that? Magnesium, was it?
Yes.
Yes. So, which is like a soft metal, and it comes in like an oil coating. Let's see. Let's get a bit sidetracked again. Magnesium. Looks a bit ugly looking. There's a cofactor of more than 300 enzyme systems. There you go. It regulates diverse biological reactions in the body, including protein synthesis, muscle, and nerve function. So when you get into muscle cramp, they always say take more magnesium in the diet.
Yep.
Magnesium required for energy production, oxidative. There you go. This was the reaction with oxygen, and glucosis. Magnesium fire starter. But if there's any videos of it at all. So you get these little blocks of magnesium and you scrape your knife on it, and you see it reacts with the air instantly and creates like a huge amount of heat, which you can then start fires with it. Where's the magnesium fire starter? Ultimate survival technology. So you can actually buy them. I've actually got one hanging on the side of my cabinet because I never know when there's going to be a big disaster. And you know that it's always going to work. You might not have matches or anything like that. So it's always handy just to have a survival kit for earthquakes and stuff like that might happen. And you might want to light, might not be able to find what you're after for a barbecue to light it to be able to heat the food or make it cook food out in the backyard or whatever that you might need to do. And they only cost a few bucks. You get this magnesium block with like a scraper.
Yeah. I actually had one of those at one point.
Let's see. How's it work? Commercially made version of a flint and steel is actually made with magnesium. They work the same way except you use a steel or knife to scrape off flakes of magnesium that heat up to create sparks. Magnesium burns hotter and longer than steel, making fire lightning. There you go. So oxygen just shows you how reactive it is. Wonder if it worked better in ozone. Has anyone scraped it off into ozone? Probably go boom, even hotter. But anyway, there we go. This is basic. So it pumps it into the nozzle, combustion. I'm not sure how it ignites it though. The diagram doesn't really show you much, does it? Is it a chemical reaction or do they have to actually heat it? It says combustion chamber. So
yeah, I think they have a running sparkler thing inside of there.
Yeah,
you can see it when they first light off the engines. There's sparklers running inside there.
okay. What's inside a rocket combustion chamber? Like I said, I'm not a rocket scientist.
I'm certainly not.
A rocket is the simplest form of a chamber enclosed in gas under pressure. A small opening at the end of the chamber allows the gas to escape, and in doing so provides a thrust that propels the rocket. But it's a bit more than that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, what's this one?
Oh, yeah.
You think someone better explain it to us here properly.
Right.
Most of what you need to know about the cycle. Let's see, liquid rocket engines. NASA. They're going to be over our head, aren't they? Come on, people, talk in lead terms here for us.
Okay.
Closed expander cycle. So there's a diagram again. Let's see, injectors, but what's it doing though?
I think it's some kind of a sparking system that's in there. It just goes the entire time. There's fuel running through it.
Fuel.
I'm just speculating, but I think that's what.
Let's see, the fuel is actually inserted down here. And also in the chamber. Suppose that's how they sort of throttle up then, don't they? I suppose it depends on the type of fuel, which we'll go over in a minute. I don't think we've got what keeps the combustion chamber inside a rocket from exploding. Okay, it talks about the igniter here, so let's have a look.
There you go.
Someone's got to be a rocket scientist in here. Okay, what's this guy saying? 25 rocket engineer, rocket designer. Here we go, Doug Jones. So this one's a rocket engineer. The igniter detail, one of the keys to safely starting a rocket engine with a non-hypergolic propellants is to ensure to supply a robust ignition source in the chamber before emitting the main propellant flows. If you do it the other way around, the fuel and oxidizer can mix immediately. That's what the injector is supposed to do, and if the mix is then ignited, it will detonate. This can occur in open space, as seen in fuel-air explosions, and confinement is not needed to produce an explosion. If the main flows are ignited as they enter, they cannot accumulate and mix to produce an explosive mixture, but instead burn steadily at the edges of the thousands of tiny mixing zones between them. With the furiously hot, high-pressure flame established, the liquids are quickly but smoothly consumed, and igniter can be turned off. So it doesn't always go there. Yeah. So what they're saying is once you got it started, the chain reaction keeps on going. From what I'm reading now.
Right. That's what I got out of it. Well, yeah, I'm still thinking that little igniter it's just a spark source of some kind.
I suppose it's like on your oven, right? You're mixing gas with oxygen in the air. You need the igniter to start the reaction process.
Right.
The decrease in pressure from the combustion chamber to the nozzle and the gases are allowed to expand post the throat. An explosion occurs when the reaction is confined to the volume and the pressure builds in the confinement as a result, which causes a high pressure temperature gases to force themselves out in order to expand. What else we got? By controlling the rate of liquid propellant release, the German scientist Werner von Braun perfected this with lots of trial and error and lots of explosions, obviously, and combustion chamber needed to be cooled. Werner overcome this by running liquid propellant over the combustion chamber. The data from Warner experiments remain mostly classified. So it's still classified then, is it? The hole in the end. Yeah, you're bright, mate. But it doesn't show it running over the chamber here, though, does it? To keep it cool on the outside. I don't know.
Right.
So here's all the mathematics. So what does it say? Stored fuel and stored oxidizer are pumped into the combustion chamber where they are mixed and burned. The combustion produces great amounts of exhaust gas at high temperature and pressure. The hot exhaust is passed through a nozzle which accelerates the flow. Thrust is produced according to Newton's third law of motion. The amount of thrust produced by the rocket depends on the mass flow rate through the engine, the exit velocity of the exhaust, and the pressure at the nozzle exit. All these variations depend on the design of the nozzle. The smallest cross-section area of the nozzle is called the throat. Hot exhaust flow is choked at the throat, which means that the Mach number is equal to 1 in the throat, and the mass flow rate m dot is determined by the throat area. The area ratio from the throat to the exit AE sets the exit velocity VE and the exit pressure PE. You can explore the design and operate of a rocket nozzle with our interactive nozzle simulator program. Now we can have a look at that, I guess, if it works. Blah. How are we going for time anyway? We've still got a bit of time left. Download the applet. I thought it was going to be an online thing. Oh, well, we'll post it down the side. Anyone wants to play around with that. A51, where are you?
I know.
Nozzle. App. I suppose there might be one on a smartphone. I suppose it runs on Internet Explorer only, saying that applet. It sounds like it's going to be Internet Explorer, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Let's find it.
Okay, so let's move on to the ozone thing. And this is quite a good article. Do rockets blast away the ozone layer? It's no biggie today, but watch the skies. Okay, so might just expand that and get the reader to read it out because my tongue's swollen. I must have bit it in the night again. It's making it really hard for me today.
Not fun.
But before I read it out, there was some interesting stuff here. Let's see, whereabouts was it? Just want to point out the couple of bits that were on it. Here we go. Let's see. Solid roll, probably here. Solid fuel rocket motors, such as the side boosters that were used in the shuttle program or will be used for NASA's Heavy Lift Space Program launch system, pose the notorious problems in that the emissions are a more varied mix. These rockets emit black carbon, basically soot, as well as alumina particles and chlorine-based compounds. All three types of these emissions can promote ozone-destroying reactions, particularly when they are ejected directly into the stratosphere. When it comes to kerosene-fueled rockets such as SpaceX Falcon 9, I never knew rockets use kerosene. And Falcon Heavy Launcher, black carbon is the primary concern. Once those particles get into the stratosphere, they stay there for 3 to 4 years. So SpaceX is going to be the problem one. Well, I wondered why they're using kerosene, so I did some more research to work out why they were using kerosene rather than what the space shuttle was doing. And I'll go over that in a minute. Hydrogen-fueled rocket engines, such as the ones that were installed in the space shuttle orbiter or used by Blue Origin's new Shepard suborbital spaceship, pose far less risk to the ozone layer. Their exhaust consists primarily of water vapor, which is 2H2 plus O2, which means 2 hydrogen, 2 atoms plus oxygen in the atmosphere equals 2 water molecules. So you can see there's not going to be much of a reaction with ozone because it's O3, right? But they're saying it has far less risk. So obviously, I suspect there is some leakage happening through the rocket system where hydrogen reacts with ozone, probably, or something like that, or some other oxidizer they use. Maybe they use a wee bit of other chemicals to ignite it. This is what I was trying to figure out. Sorry, what are you saying?
No, it's just the technology itself is so darn dirty anyway.
Yeah. So I looked up what propellants rockets launch, what propellants rockets use, and I come across this table here, and you can see it's very fine print, but I'll zoom in onto it.
You cut out completely. I lost you for about 15 seconds and a couple times.
Why are we cutting out? Because I used the zoom. CPU going up.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's getting that problem occurring slowly, I think. Or Discord's having problems today.
They are having problems.
Okay, so here's all the compounds that you can use. And where's the thrust at? Yeah, I got a problem with the zoom and scrolling at the same time. So Pacific Impulse, was that the chart I was looking at? It might be this one up here. Oh, here we go. This is the one I was meant to be looking for. It gives us liquid oxygen combined with kerosene. Gives us 389. But if you liquid with hydrogen, it's only 381. And that was what, that wasn't what I was looking for. Let's see. Where do I see it? Maybe it's not at sea level. Hang on, let me just see. But apparently the kerosene one is like 3 times as reactive because it's got the carbon in it, right? It's more reactive because oxygen obviously combines with kerosene in an explosive manner rather than oxygen and hydrogen. I was just trying to figure out this chart here. So here it is talking about 124. Liquid oxygen, hydrogen is 124, and kerosene is 300. See, so it's almost 3 times the output. If I'm reading this correctly here, talking about the impulse. So at the sea level, hydrogen's actually a bit better, but as it goes up, just try to figure it out. But you can see it's 124 up here, and this one's 394. So is that the best one? Probably not. They're all pretty close though. We got NMH, whatever that is. Liquid methane is double hydrogen. So I suppose rocket scientists use a chart like this to work out which propellants they want to use. So what we got down here, we got some other things that can be. So this is the oxidizer, that's the fuel. So if the oxidizer is nitrogen tetroxide mixed with kerosene, it's 300, but there's no hydrogen. There's no liquid hydrogen in the list here. Right. 400 here. So that one's a good one. Liquid fluorine. Is it? Yeah, fluorine mixed in with this hydrazine. 432. So that's a really go. So SpaceX is obviously using liquid oxygen, I guess. but it's not too sure. We have to find out. Liquid oxygen with kerosene. Well, it could be using one of these other ones, I guess. Kerosene, hydrogen peroxide. There you go, mixed with kerosene. There's also 300 here. And of course, I looked up what hydrogen peroxide is, and there's the option where it is here. It's two H's and 2 oxygen combined. Hydrogen peroxide is a chemical compound with the formula H2O2. In its pure form, it is a pale blue clear liquid, slightly more viscous than water. Hydrogen peroxide is the simplest peroxide, a compound with an oxygen single bond. It is used as an oxidizer, bleaching agent, and antiseptic. Concentrated hydrogen peroxide or high-test peroxide is a reactive oxygen species and has been used as a propellant in rocketry. So there you go. So again, it's to do with how reactive oxygen is and the bonds with hydrogen. Hydrogen peroxide is unstable and slowly decomposes into the presence of light. Because of its instability, hydrogen peroxide is typically stored with a stabilizer in a weakly acidic solution. Damn tongue. Hydrogen peroxide is found in biological systems, including human body. Enzymes that use or decompose hydrogen peroxide are classified as peroxide, whatever that is, peroxide ashes. So obviously it gets transported in these containers on the railways. Tank design for the production of H2O2 was around 1.9 million tons and grew to 2.2 million in 2006, most of which was at a concentration of 70% or less in that year. Sold for around $0.4 per kilogram, 50 cents per kilogram. Hydrogen peroxide occurs in surface water, groundwater, and in atmosphere. It forms upon elimination or natural catalytic action by substances contained in water. Seawater contains
for longer and longer periods of time.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's not signed.
Mm-mm.
Well, let's
No,
change
it's not.
service then. Let's see if it solves it for you.
Okay.
Are you there? Hello, hello. Are you there? Are you there? Hello, hello.
You okay? Can you be able to hear me hopefully?
I can hear you fine.
Beautiful.
Is it working now?
Well, it's, it sounds just fine, and all of a sudden you disappear.
Okay, we're on another server now. See if it still
Yeah.
happens. Let me know if it still happens.
Right. You got it.
We might be running into some problems with Discord at the moment. Does it tell us how they make it here? What's that about the bug? Degradation of what's that saying there? It's too complicated.
Degradation of hypoxin. Let's see.
Eggs of sea urchin.
Hypoxanthine.
Eggs of sea urchin shortly after fertilization by sperm produce hydrogen peroxide.
Really?
Australian bombarder beetle. What's that got to do with it? Bombarder beetles have a device which allows it to shoot corrosive and foul-smelling bubbles at its enemies. The beetle produces and stores hydroquinone and hydrogen peroxide in two separate reservoirs in the rear of the abdomen. When threatened, the beetle contracts muscles that force the two reactants through valve tubes into mixing chamber. He's like a little rocket containing water
He
and
is.
a mixture of catalytic enzymes. When combined, the reactants undergo a violent exothermic chemical reaction. Yeah, it's definitely a rocket, raising the temperature to nearly the boiling point of water. The boiling, foul-smelling liquid partially becomes a gas, flash of vaporation, and expelled through the outlet valve with a loud pop sound. Only in Australia would you find this. There seems to
I
have
know.
Australia seems to be the land of all things that are trying to kill you. Hydrogen peroxide is a sigma molecule of plant defense against pathogens. So it looks like it's used everywhere. What's this? Disinfectant. Yeah. Kill the bacteria. It's quite a lot on peroxide, isn't there? So yeah, we'll just post that down the side there. Anyone wants to read all that. Peroxide. So obviously it's very reactant compared to oxygen. Here we go for time, half an hour. Okay, we're almost there actually. So as we're talking about that article here, which I'm going to read out eventually. So that chart there was quite a good one there, the propellant charts. Quite handy little chart, so you can see what amount of energy is released. If I'm reading the chart correctly, we're still learning as we're going. A rocket propellant. I know this ain't anything to do with UFOs, but it's still an interesting topic.
Yes.
Mixing charts. This energy output. Well, I suppose it's sort of based on UFO stuff still, though. So that gas that's given off on SpaceX is not the same as Space Shuttle, as we just found. It's kerosene-based fumes, which are not really good for the atmosphere. So that means more and more spaceship rocket launches have a potential of destroying more of the ozone in the process. But if we get enough rocket launches and have bases off planet, time they've destroyed all the ozone layer on Earth with the rockets, it won't matter anymore. We'll be living off planet. So SpaceX Falcon 9. So does it sound all right at the moment, John?
Yep. I think you might have fixed it.
Yeah, so probably I should have done that with Robert then. So what's some images of SpaceX? Let's have a look. So you can see they're a lot smaller rockets. So obviously, as we found out, the kerosene's got 3 times the punch, right? At sea level, it's the same as a normal space shuttle, but as it goes higher up, it's got 3 times the punch because of the energy stored in kerosene, which is a really dirty carbon type fuel. They also use kerosene in airplanes, of course, jet engines. So what we're seeing here is probably not going to be all water vapor. It's going to be some black, sooty type output. It looks like it's kind of black on that photograph there. So you can see how much smaller these rockets are compared to the space shuttles. That's because the fuel type is more reactive So they need less big tanks, right? So it makes sense. I always wondered about SpaceX, how they managed to do better than the space shuttle. Now we know they're actually using kerosene. So that looks very dirty coming down here, doesn't it? So it doesn't look very watery.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that one looks more like a typical kerosene flame coming out when it coming back down land. So let's see. So you can see how Elon Musk could be aligned with the oil industry because his rocket's going to need kerosene, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So you can start to see connections going on. Falcon 9 gases. I wonder if it will tell us. Stop it on my Falcon 9 gases. I wonder if it will tell us because it'll probably be classified, won't it? Liquid oxygen. Merlin engines use RP1 and liquid oxygen. Did we have it on the chart there? RP1.
RP1. Not sure.
What's it stand for? RP1. Chlorine, that'd be CP. AP. Aluminium perchloride. Red fumin nitric acid. That sounds pretty bad. RP. Is there anything there with RP? I can't see any in the list here.
No, I don't see anything there.
Space shuttle.
RP1. RP1.
What's up here? Properties of rocket propellants. Oh, here we go.
You had it there.
Here we go. RP1. Which is chemical formula is C something. Is it C8H something? I can't quite see.
C N Nancy H.
No, it's
C5OH.
CN, is it?
CNH 1.953N. Whatever that is.
Yes, that's a good question. But it says here kerosene up here, which is C12H26. So it looks like it's like a variant of kerosene then, from looking at that chart above here, right? But it didn't have it in the chart there for how much.
Yeah, it's a highly refined form of kerosene, outwardly similar to jet fuel, uses rocket fuel RP1.
Okay.
It's a lower specific impulse rate.
Well, there you go. Because it has the same formula. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, you substitute, call it kerosene down here, and you put it into the table here, right? So liquid oxygen plus kerosene, and there's all the information there. So there you go. So I didn't know that until I looked it up and researched it, and now you know about it too. So it talks about here. First stage is nitrogen, cold gas. So is it a combination of some stuff depending on which ones are lit? Cold gas thruster is a rocket engine thruster that uses a typical inert. Why does Falcon 9 vent so much more gas? Well, that obviously it's using kerosene. Just seconds before ignition as compared to other liquid fuel rockets. Is it because they load fuel at colder temperatures than other rockets? Okay, what did he want to answer that? Most of the gas visible around the F9 during launch is water vapor. They reckon it's water vapor condensing out of the air as it moves past the super cold tanks, which is not particularly explosive. The actual vented gas is oxygen, which isn't explosive unless mixed with fuel. Watch your launch when it isn't a super humid overcast day and there's far less gas coming off the rockets. So they're talking about that, how you see the little gas sort of dripping off the rocket on launch pad. They're not actually talking about when it's ignited.
Right.
We'd have to go back to the images again. But it sort of vents off little pockets of gas, probably because they're pumping liquid coolant in. Most of the gas visible around the Falcon launch is water vapor condensing out of the air as it moves past the super cold tanks. Okay, so like as it's blowing around the rocket, it sort of makes this mist. That was not what we were looking for, though. But it's interesting.
Oh, jeez.
It's interesting to know that. Oh, we just got another sub. Who's out there watching? Anybody? I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it.
I didn't hear anything.
No, I think only dances the alien if this changes this one over here. Kind of strange how Google works, actually. It's not loading. Oh, I think we're getting to that slow motion thing going. Okay. So we're getting near the end anyway, so we'll be alright. It's because we did all that mucking around with the voice stuff, I think. Right. I can't scroll up and down now.
Da, da, da,
da. I think we're being sabotaged again. Well,
and that, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up our show for tonight. Thank you for stopping.
Yes, the NSA is putting the silence on us, even though we're not talking about UFOs today much. Oh no, it's gone slow, John. Okay, let's just see if we can read out this thing before it crashes. This one's working though. It was sort of glitched there. So when was this one written? 2007, right? So scientists discover a new way to make water in the familiar high school chemistry. So I might just get it to read out there. It talks about this output that the space shuttle was doing with oxygen and hydrogen. Let's see if it can read it. It'll probably go slow.
Scientists discover a new way to make water in a familiar high school chemistry demonstration. An instructor first uses electricity to split liquid water into its constituent gases, hydrogen and oxygen. Then, by combining the two gases and igniting them with a spark, the instructor changes the gases back into water with a loud pop. Scientists at the University of Illinois have discovered a new way to make water, and without the pop. Not only can they make water from unlikely starting materials, such as alcohols, their work could also lead to better catalysts and less expensive fuel cells. We found that unconventional metal hydrides can be used for a chemical process called oxygen reduction, which is an essential part of the process of making water, said Zachariah Hayden, a doctoral student and lead author of a paper accepted for publication in a journal of the American Chemical Society. A water molecule, formerly known as dihydrogen monoxide, is composed of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. But you can simply take 2 hydrogen atoms and stick them onto an oxygen atom. The actual reaction to make water is a bit more complicated. 2H2 plus O2 equals 2H2O plus energy. In English, the equation says, to produce 2 molecules of water, H2O, 2 molecules of diatomic hydrogen, H2, must be combined with 1 molecule of diatomic oxygen, O2. Energy will be released in the process. This reaction, 2H2 plus O2 equals 2H2O plus energy, has been known for 2 centuries, but until now no one has made it work in a homogeneous solution, said Thomas Rochfuss, a U of I professor of chemistry and the paper's corresponding author.
So that process that they're talking about releasing energy there and water droplets is what the space shuttle was doing with the hydrogen and oxygen for its launching. But here I think they're talking about getting it to work without rocket engines. Talking about fuel cells here. So basically, when you'd use a fuel cell for a car, right? So they're talking about a way to get it to safely combine and release the energy. Let's just read a wee bit more of it there because it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Come on, don't go too slow on me.
The well-known reaction also describes what happens inside a hydrogen fuel cell. In a typical fuel cell, the diatomic hydrogen gas enters one side of the cell, diatomic oxygen gas enters the other side. The hydrogen molecules lose their electrons and become positively charged through a process called oxidation, while the oxygen molecules gain 4 electrons and become negatively charged through a process called reduction. The negatively charged oxygen ions combine with positively charged hydrogen ions to form water and release electrical energy. The difficult side of the fuel cell is the oxygen reduction reaction, not the hydrogen oxidation reaction, Rochfuss said. We found, however, that new catalysts for oxygen reduction could also lead to new chemical means for hydrogen oxidation. Rochfuss and Hayden recently investigated a relatively new generation of transfer hydrogenation catalysts for use as unconventional metal hydrides for oxygen reduction. In their JAX paper, the researchers focus exclusively on the oxidative reactivity of iridium-based transfer hydrogenation catalysts in a homogeneous, non-aqueous solution. They found the iridium complex affects both the oxidation of alcohols and the reduction of the oxygen. Most compounds react with either hydrogen or oxygen, but this catalyst reacts with both, Hayden said. It reacts with hydrogen to form a hydride, and then reacts with oxygen to make water, and it does this in a homogeneous, non-aqueous solvent. The new catalysts could lead to eventual development of more efficient hydrogen fuel cells, substantially lowering their cost, Hayden said.
So, as we found, the rockets ignite those 2 hydrogen and oxygen together, and which then releases more energy and then forms water. But what they're saying here is they're trying to get it to react without actually using a spark, I guess. So that's what they're saying here, is it?
Mm-hmm.
So what's this term here mean, actually?
Yes. Non-liquid solvent.
Yeah. Looks like I can't open up a tab. I didn't do anything. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. I can't open a tab. Why is it gone bad now? That's kind of weird. Well, the live stream's coming to an end. Well, as soon anyway. So what's the terminology here? I'm sure I hit enter on that. Come on. Okay, definition. Not aqueous or relating to or having the characteristics of a liquid other than water, a non-aqueous solution made from, with, or by means of liquid other than water. Does that make sense? I'm just trying to understand what they mean in here. In chemistry, that's probably what they're talking about here. Non-aqueous acid-based chemistry follows similar rules to those developed for acids. and bases in water. I'm not going to be able to open
It just means made from, with, or by means of a liquid other than water.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to figure out there.
Yeah.
So they're using a non-water solvent, is basically what they're saying.
Yes.
Yes. So we're trying to break it down to lay terms, right? So we can all understand it. So what was the solvent, the liquid solvent they had found then? It was hydrogen something rather, wasn't it? Which is really H2O is water, right? So it's going to be another hydrogen-based compound, which is a liquid, right? So hydride they called it, or whatever. Suppose I should look up hydride. I should have kept that open. This is terrible, guys. Google has decided that it didn't like us changing the server on Discord, I think. It's got gradually slower.
As we skid sideways into the wall.
Yeah. It's not working at all now. Hydrate. Okay. We'll persist with it. We'll keep going. Hydrate, wasn't it? So that's how you spell it. What's the meaning of that one?
It's missing a D. HYDRIDE.
What?
It's HYD. Hydride. There you go. Hydride. Yeah. It's HYDRIDE.
Hydride. It looks like that's a word too. Here we go. Come on, you can do it. We're now gone to the Pentium. Our computer's turned from an i7 to a Pentium. Windows 10 has a little switch in it that triggers, turns off all the cores. In chemistry, a hydride is the an ion of hydrogen. Or more commonly is a compound in which one or more hydrogen centers have neophilic, reducing, or basic properties. In compounds that are regarded as hydrides, the hydrogen atom is bonded to more electropositive elements or groups. So nitrogen, carbon, obviously. So it must be a hydrogen, nitrogen, carbon type solvent they're talking about. Okay, so can we get the tabs going here? I'll just paste that one there too. All my chats about links, and no one else is talking. Water, making water with fuel cells. I still thought it was interesting. Anyway, did it go? It did. We're getting there. We only got a wee bit to go. About the ozone. We'll get back to the ozone thing again. Come on. Close tab. And what else we got here? I think that's almost near the end here. Actually, that actually worked out quite well. We've got that chart there. That's actually quite a handy chart. I should bookmark that.
Are we going to be doing more rocket science stuff in the future?
Who knows? We may want to reference it again. So I thought, yeah, that's a good chart. What do you call it? What do you call them over there? Not aluminium. Aluminum.
Aluminum?
Yeah, so people wouldn't be that within the atmosphere because that's what they're saying is chemtrails, right? Which is aluminum plus other chemicals. But you can see here it's used as a rocket fuel. So yeah, I don't think planes use that. So the planes use kerosene up here. Same as the rocket engines. Yeah, but as we've seen, there's 15,000 planes in the sky, pretty much any one point on the plane finder, right? So that means there's got to be at least 30,000 or so thousand flights a day, right? Plane lands, takes off again. Is it non-stop in 24 hours? How many planes land and go up? Because we know when we looked at early morning hours, the planes drop off down to about 4,000 worldwide. So pilots have got to sleep and all that sort of business. Vern was saying it was something like 80 to 100,000 flights a day, which sounds too high to me. 40,000 probably would be about right, I would have thought, but maybe that stat's out there somewhere that he's read. Well, you can probably look it up. I'm not going to try and do it on this slow computer now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll look it up.
You look it up if you want to, see how many flights a day,
Yeah.
and how much ozone damaging jet engines make. You could look that up too if you want to. Research. So let's read out some of this here, talking about the ozone thing, see how bad it is with the rockets going to be. See what I can highlight and read out. I'm probably going to go over my daily budget of number of words I can read. I'll try that much maybe. No, it's sort of locked up on me. Here we go. Come on. Go.
Thanks to Blue Origin, SpaceX and other space ventures, the skies could well be filled with rockets in years to come. But what will that do to the environment? The short answer is not that much right now. But as experts look to the years ahead, the answer gets as hazy as the air after a Falcon Heavy launch. 10 years ago, the amount of emissions was not great, said Martin Ross, an engineer at the Aerospace Corporation, whose research focuses on the effects of space systems on the stratosphere. Today, the effect is still small, but it is growing. Over the 60 years of the space age, the year-by-year tally of orbital launches has gone up and down, with the most active years coming during the height of the US-Soviet space race and the start of the space shuttle era. Now the rate is on a sharp upswing, and if all of the plans being hatched by launch providers come to fruition, 2018 could well be a record year. Ross focuses on ozone-depleting chemicals rather than climate change, even though most rocket emissions take the form of carbon dioxide and water vapor, two of the best-known greenhouse gases. The carbon dioxide emitted by rockets is absolutely and completely insignificant compared with aviation, Ross explained. And aircraft, in turn, are thought to account for less than 10% of the total greenhouse gas emissions linked to the US transportation sector. That is compared with more than 80% for cars and trucks. Ross has been modeling how the chemistry of rocket exhaust affects the stratospheric ozone layer for years, and I talked about his research on Seattle's KROW Public Radio this week, in response to a listener's question. Take a listen to the interview here. KROW, will private rockets destroy the ozone layer? Audio player midnight use up/down arrow keys to increase or decrease volume. There is much more to come. Ross updated analysis is due to be included in the United Nations Quadrennial Assessment of Atmospheric Ozone Depletion, mandated by the 1987 Montreal Protocol and due for publication by the end of the year. The formal findings have to be held back for the UN report, but when I talked with Ross, he made clear that there are lots of questions yet to be answered about future impacts. We don't really have a good handle on it, he acknowledged. Ross does have a good handle on the chemistry involved, however, at least when it comes to the propellants that are currently in use. Solid-fueled rocket motors, such as the side boosters that were used in the shuttle program or will be used for NASA's Heavy Lift Space Launch System, pose the knottiest problems, in that the emissions are a more varied mix, Ross said. Those rockets emit black carbon, basically soot, as well as alumina particles and chlorine-based compounds. All three types of emissions can promote ozone-destroying reactions, particularly when they're re-injected directly into the stratosphere. When it comes to kerosene-fueled rockets, such as SpaceX's Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy, black carbon is the primary concern. Once those particles get into the stratosphere, they stay in there for 3 or 4 years, Ross said. Hydrogen-fueled rocket engines, such as the ones that were installed in the Space Shuttle orbiter or are used by Blue Origin's New Shepard suborbital spaceship, pose far less risk to the ozone layer. Their exhaust consists primarily of water vapor, 2H2 plus O2 equals 2H2O. Ross' past studies have shown that the impact on stratospheric ozone would be negligible even if the launch rate were to increase by a factor of 10. But there are 2 big reasons why he sees uncertainty in the years ahead. One is that SpaceX, Blue Origin and other companies are planning a dramatic uptick in the launch rate, in part to deploy constellations of satellites that could eventually number in the thousands. Ross said the shift to rocket reusability, which SpaceX's Elon Musk and Blue Origin's Jeff Bezos see as a must-have, could change the way those launches are done. We're going to start launching with less than a full payload because the prices will come down, he said. But reusability requires launching often. Total emissions will be expected to rise. The other wild card is the shift to methane as a rocket propellant. Both SpaceX and Blue Origin are developing methane-fueled rocket engines, the Raptor and the B4, respectively, that could set a new standard for commercial spaceflight. We don't know anything about how a methane rocket affects the ozone layer, Ross said. So, what is to be done? Ross doesn't have a prescription yet. It is far premature to talk about any kind of change in the mix, he said, but because the industry is growing, it would be good to understand the implications of all these types of propellants. By the time crews start taking off for Mars, a decade or 2 from now, Ross and his successors hope to know how best to keep the skies of the home planet healthy.
So that's quite good. So he's saying that rocket launches is only it's really small damage to the atmosphere compared to airplanes. What's it say here? Airplane in turn are thought to account for less than 10% of the total greenhouse gas emissions. I suppose Cal farts talking about the liberal paper that come out is probably responsible for most of it. Well, what's her name? AOC, whatever her name is, Cortex tests. They're compared with more than 80% of cars and trucks. So cars and trucks are the bigger problem than aircraft, according to this. What he's saying here. I don't know if that's true. We'd have to check up on another site, I guess. But I can't see why this guy would have the wrong facts. Aerospace editor. What's this bit at the end here? A newly published Aerospace Corp policy paper written by Ross and James Beder, titled The Policy and Science of Rocket Emissions, addresses the issue in depth. The paper calls on the global launch industry, so obviously they're the ones that are informing the government, and the stakeholders to boost research into the environment effects of rocket emissions so that such emissions get the appropriate level of environment regulation as commercial launches become more frequent. There you go. So they're going to switch over to methane. I should have left that chart open to see what the output of methane is. I think it was a lot higher than kerosene. I think it was further down on the chart. So yeah, I suppose that's really the end of the live stream for us, considering the slow down anyway. But it was coming up to 3 hours as well, almost 3 hours now. But even though we had some problems, not that anyone's going to watch it, John. Eh?
They better.
All that presentation for nothing, eh? Okay, let's Copy that. That's a really good article there, by the way. Ozone and rockets. Well, we've only got one like on it, so that's not really good. Robert didn't even like it for us. So look, it's all me today. So yeah. So what did we learn today, Robert? We learned rockets can use various propellants and can be harmful to the atmosphere. And ozone is dangerous to our lungs, but it's actually a good odor, what do you call it, remover. What do you call it? What's the word? Don't know about the fancy word. What else do we learn today?
We learned to avoid bombardier beetles in Australia because they poop out nasty things that stink and burn.
Yep. Yeah, we learned about that.
Yeah, I remember the important things.
Well, there's a lot of stuff in there, and we learned about the rolling shutter and the Cmos is the sensors are being improved, and high-end cameras now have global shutter instead of the rolling shutter, and I suppose that's the P1000 maybe, is that? So yeah, the cameras are getting better, and hopefully it'll be rolled out onto the smartphones as well, and we'll have less artifacts coming up in UFO videos, hopefully. But I think really what needs to happen on smartphones now is optical lenses. I think they need to have like a 25 or 30 times zoom on smartphones, optical zoom, not a digital zoom. You think it should be possible, but I suppose it would stick out, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, unless you get the nanofins, as they call them, the meta lenses, which use titanium rods, which they still haven't perfected, but still really, they're having trouble getting the whole spectrum through the lens, because as it would be filtered to lose various frequencies. I think that was a technical problem of the meta lenses, but yeah, early days, still more research going on. I think something better is going to come out before long in the next 10 years. See what happens. So we'll wind down the stream now, since we've got the slow motion going and coming up 3 hours. And anything we've missed or find some extra, we'll add on to a future live stream, I guess. Or anything that's changed or anything we got wrong today. Is that still working? I'm not seeing that coming up. Okay, let's see how well the credits go, because it's really, really slow. Oh dear. Come on, switch over. I'm sure I clicked on it. Come on. There you go. Hey, thanks for watching, guys, if you got this far. And do like and share. I clicked it twice here by mistake. Hang on. It's going too slow now. Oh, should I wait?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Okay. Double click, go. Let's see if the music plays.
State of the art. Yeah, state of the art.
Come on. I think it's playing. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Next one's Sunday my time, Saturday American time. That's one CPU. Oh, you want to see it? I don't think it's coming out very well.